We finally got a good Alien sequel, and I'm excited to talk about it, so let's get spooky. Greetings everyone, my name is Nightshade, this is The Night Shift, a home for all things spooky, and today we're talking about Alien Romulus, released in 2024. Alien Romulus just released this past weekend at the time of recording this video, so if you're on the fence about seeing it in the theaters but don't want it spoiled for you, I'm going to break it down real quick before we get into the full-fledged review. That way you can determine for yourself if it's worth the price of admission. So if you're a fan of the OG and a fan of like the aesthetic of the first film, you're gonna have a good time. I went in here with the most tempered of expectations because, I mean, the last one of these that I watched was Alien Covenant, and I hate that film. So I went in with tempered expectations. I wasn't asking for much. All I really wanted was decent story, decently good looking effects, be it practical or CGI, and nothing that was over the top ridiculous. I didn't want anything that was extremely far-fetched at all. And I'm pleased to say that I got all of that, and I got the best versions of that. I'm not a guy that likes to go to the movie theaters all the time. Like, it has to be a special film for me to want to go out to the movie theaters to see it. And whenever it came down to this movie, I think it was worth the price of admission. I had a good time, it was a pretty good film, and there was a handful of choices made that, could have been done better, but overall, great film. And if you're on the fence of going to see it in theaters, I highly recommend doing so, especially if you're a fan of the Alien franchise. I think it fits in the franchise very well. And now we're going to move on to the spoiler review, so if you don't want to have anything potentially spoiled for you, I highly recommend clicking off the video now. But if you continue watching, then that's on you. So now on to the actual review. I'm going to break this down into 3 separate parts: positives, the gray area, and the negatives. And then I'll give you my score out of 10, and we will end the video there. So, starting with the positives, we have the story. So the story is pretty decent. It's about workers on a colony that they work for the Weyland Corporation, and it seems they're contracted to the Weyland Corporation, and at the end of their contract, Weyland Corporation will pay them to go wherever in the universe they want to. But the Weyland Corporation backs out of their promises. We've all had that kind of job. I'm still in that job. However, there is shipwreckage that is orbiting the planet that they're on, and they have cryopods there, which they need in order to go, years away. And all of our cast decides to go explore the wreckage in order to get the cryopods to leave the corporation behind forever. And in doing so, they come face to face with the almighty Xenomorph. And that's just the basic plot in a nutshell, and I really enjoyed it. Risking your life to get out of a shitty situation, I understand that very well. And, it's not a contrived plot, it's a very reasonable one. It's a different setup to get our main characters into the situation that they find themselves in, but it's still very familiar. Like, it doesn't stray entirely too far away from like the original or the sequels, or any of the sequels. Like, it works. Like, the story works to get them into the situation that they find themselves in this film. It works, and it doesn't feel too contrived. It feels reasonable, and I like that, obviously, because this is on the positives part of the review. So up next on my list of positives is nostalgia. There is a lot of nostalgia to be had in this film. A lot of the tech and aesthetics, fashion even, very much is reminiscent of the first Alien movie, and this one it really sort of nailed the look. Just the overall look and feel of this film very much feels like a love letter to the original. You can tell there was a decent amount of love that went into the set design and the world building of this film. Like, it all feels very nostalgic. It very much hits the nail on the head for getting that old school feel. And just really appreciate that. And I'm going to go ahead and pair that with my next positive, which is the Easter eggs. There's a fair amount of Easter eggs in this film, and I really do love that. Like, I can't break them all down here because, I've only just watched the movie, so I'm sure there's even more Easter eggs that I missed, but there's a lot of Easter eggs, and if you're into stuff like that and seeing old nostalgic shit like that, this is definitely going to be right up your alley because you know, like, again, there's a decent amount of Easter eggs. Like, we even get a deep fake of Ian Holm, who is like the original synthetic person, and Bilbo Baggins. Yeah, he's Bilbo Baggins. And I fucking love Lord of the Rings, so anytime I can make a Lord of the Rings reference on this channel, I will. But yeah, there's a decent amount of Easter eggs in this film, but not too much that like beats you over the head with it, like kind of how they did in like Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills. It's not that level of egregious, but you know, they're there. And you know, I love shit like that. I love it when people, you know, pay homage to, you know, the greats before them. It really does something for me spiritually. So next on my list of positives, we have practical effects. I will say this to the day that I die. Good practical effects will trump CGI any day of the week. And I'm not saying that there's not CGI in this. There definitely is, but you know, it was used sparingly and used properly. We do get a lot of really good practical effects. I think the face huggers looked really good, and I visually noticed that the close-ups of the xenomorphs were puppets, and I got so excited for that. And the puppeteering for both the xenomorph and the face huggers was really good. And this film, compared to like other subsequent sequels of the Alien franchise, this one really found a good marriage between practical effects and CGI. I think they work really well together in this movie. Like, they use CGI for like the zero gravity acid blood scene, but you know, they still use the practical effects for the acid melting through metal. Love seeing that. I love seeing that type of effect work done. It always looks good in camera. You know, sometimes with the CGI, a lot can go wrong. Sometimes things don't render out properly and you have to start over. Other times they do render out properly and it still just doesn't look good. And in this one, the practical effects look amazing. I loved the xenomorph. I loved the face huggers. I love some of the old school stuff that they did in this film, but I also like the CGI in this film. I didn't think it was too over the top. This could have been a CGI disaster. However, you know, they used CGI sparingly and used a lot of practical effects, and that's honestly a breath of fresh air in this franchise. It gives me hope for future installments. I hope more of these sequels get cranked out, but I also hope they follow suit with this one by using practical effects and pairing it well with CGI. So that's going to do it for all of my positives. Now we move into the middle ground with the gray area. So starting things off with the gray area, we have the alien-human hybrid. Trying to keep this quiet. My best friend's upstairs and he hasn't seen the movie yet and I don't want to spoil it for him. Anyways, the alien-human hybrid. Conceptually, I liked it. Visually, I'm torn. Like, it definitely has the face of like the engineers from Prometheus, as well as a lot of the body aesthetics of the xenomorphs. And honestly, it kind of looks like Tiny from Devil's Rejects, and a mix between him and like Travis Barker. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the aesthetic of it. Like, if it would have been, you know, the failed Ripley clone, like the mixed of xenomorph from Alien Resurrection, I think they should have gone more that route and given it like a longer head. This one's just like a really skinny human head on top of a big massive body, and it's kind of off-putting, but also I like that it's off-putting, but I also don't like that it's not off-putting in the way that I would have done it. It was good, but it could have been better, if that makes any sense. And that's why it's here on the gray area, because it's a mixed bag of emotions that I'm feeling from that thing. So yeah, this is just the middle ground. And yeah, like, I don't hate it, but I think it could have been done better. And we move on. Up next on the gray area, we have the dialogue. Now, for the most part, the dialogue in this film is actually really good. A lot of good delivery, a lot of good acting as well. I thought the acting was pretty decent in this film. However, there are some instances, there were some choices that were made that weren't the best. Stay away from her, you bitch. Like, that didn't have to be said. Like, I get you're trying to do a callback to Aliens, but that was a choice that I don't think I would have made. So the last thing on my gray area that I have to say that this movie is safe. They played it really safe with this movie, and I respect it to a degree. You know, whenever I was saying I wanted to come into a film that did not stray too far from the source material, they did exactly that. It did not stray far at all, and it's all elements of other films, like the better films of the franchise, and they didn't stray too far away from that. And that's a good thing. It made it a good sequel. However, the downside to that is that this movie doesn't like wow you in any way, shape, or form. Aside from the alien-human hybrid that's not even on screen for more than like maybe 10 minutes, probably less than that. Aside from that, there's nothing about this film that really makes it stand out from the rest. They played it really safe, and again, good thing. However, the downside to that is that this might be one of those sequels that doesn't stand on its own very well. You compare it to like Prometheus or Alien Covenant. This movie is miles above those films, but you know, whenever you compare it to Alien and Aliens, those really outshine this film by a lot. But with them going the safe route, it was a good movie. A lot of people are saying good things about this, at least that I've seen so far. It's only been out for a day at this point in time, but from what I'm seeing from other people that have gone to see it, my friends that have gone to see it, a lot of people are saying good things about this film, and that makes me hopeful for the franchise. But them playing it safe almost guaranteed more sequels were going to be made, and maybe those sequels will do more to wow and win back the audience, hopefully. So that's going to do it for the gray area. Now we move on to the negatives. And the first thing on my negatives list is there aren't any negatives. There aren't really any negatives for me personally. Like the nitpicky stuff I put into the gray area, but as far as like negatives, there's nothing in this film that is egregiously bad by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. Like overall, we got a really well-directed film. There's just a handful of choices that were made that I feel that they weren't bad, but they could have been better, and I think those choices are holding this movie back for me personally. I feel like a handful of tweaks could have bumped this up and made it almost a perfect movie, if I'm honest. Or if there's things in this film that really just like got under your skin and was an absolute negative for you, be sure to sound off in the comments below. I do like to hear people's differing opinions. Let's just all geek out about horror in the comments below is basically what I'm saying. So with all of that out of the way, I'm gonna go ahead and rate this movie a solid 8 out of 10. Like I was originally going to give this movie a 9 out of 10, but it just didn't sit right with me. Like the movie wasn't good enough for the 9 spot. But 8 feels right at home for this film, and hopefully we get an even better film in the next sequel, if there is one. I like how at the end of this movie they gave themselves an out where they didn't have to continue this storyline if they didn't want to with just like one piece of dialogue. I don't know what the future holds in store for me, but goodbye for now. Something to that effect. It was something saying like that, like, oh, if we don't return to this, then that's okay. So that's just gonna about do it for me. If you liked the video, let me know by leaving me a like. Comment down below what you want to see on the channel next. I will do my best to accommodate. And until next time, my name is Nightshade. This has been The Night Shift, and I will see you in the next video. Stay spooky, my friends. That one was a lot of fun. It was like the first time I've watched a movie and did a review as it came out. I think we did that for what, Five Nights at Freddy's, maybe? I might have been like a week behind on that, but I don't go out much. Also, I want to apologize for not having a video out last Friday because I bought this new camera, but my old batteries for my old camera, they're not compatible with this one, and I only had the one battery on this and just ran out of battery life mid-review. But I've got some backup batteries for this camera now, and so I can film more. Not to mention, the battery life on this new camera is through the roof. It is like almost double what I could record on my last camera, so I'm super stoked about that. And if you're still watching at this point, comment down below. I want you to do hashtag Spooky Squad. That way I know that you guys are the real one. I think that's what I'm going to start calling you guys, the Spooky Squad, because that's what we all show up for these videos for, right? Alright, I'm going to end the video there so I can go ahead and record Friday's video. We are going to be ranking the entire Alien franchise, and I'll catch you guys there, alright? Peace out.